Hey, I thought I would make a quick video on this Kavanaugh mess. Look, I am not, I voted for Trump. Come right out and say it because I think he was the better alternative to Hillary. But, there are times when I shake my head and just say, oh, please, break his phone so he can't Twitter anymore. And I don't agree with everything he does or says. And I'm not, and I will not defend things that he has done or said that are bad, just because. But at the same time, this Kavanaugh thing, Diane Feinstein, shame on you. I don't, Diane Feinstein, I'm old enough that I remember I was very young, but I remember Diane Feinstein was running for something in San Francisco, and I don't know if she was running for California Senate or she was running for, but I think it was something more centralized in California. She hadn't gone to the big Washington, D.C. yet. And she started out in the video, it was like a 60 Minutes or one of those kind of shows, and it was kind of like a little mini documentary about how her road to getting the votes to get the office that she was running for. And she starts out and she's like, I'm not going to cater to the gays and the homosexuals and and she was just, and I'm not going to cater to this person and that person, and I'm a Christian, I have morals, and blah, 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 blah. And, by the end, she'd catered and kissed the butts of everybody that she said she wasn't going to cater and kiss to, and thrown out all her morals, all her ideals, and just to get that seat. And then once she got it, she didn't reinstate her morals and everything. She just kept going down that highway to hell. And so I'm not surprised that she's a part of this. And the girl, this is the problem that I have about the girl or the woman. I shouldn't say girl because she was a young girl. She was, I guess, supposedly only around 15 when this happened. But she doesn't give us a specific year, so you really don't even know how old she was supposed to be because she can't say it was the year, X year. And so these are the problems that I have with her story, and that is a little bit of a lack of detail. I think that if this kind of situation had happened and especially if you've been going to a therapist and talking about this situation since 2012, you would have more details. And you would know, like, okay, I was exactly 15. It was the summer before I became a sophomore. So that was 1981, 82, just throwing out a year here. And it was in the summer because I was in a swimsuit. And so it had to be in July. But see, the reason that bothers me that there's not more details is because the lack of details gives Kavanaugh a problem with refuting it. For example, as she said, it happened on the July 4th weekend. And we all went to such and such place, and, it was a house near, from my understanding, near a club or something, a country club, and we were celebrating on the 4th of July weekend. Everybody could look up the 4th of July weekend that weekend. Well, it wasn't even on a weekend. It was on Wednesday. But okay, so it was during 4th of July. It was on the 4th of July Wednesday. And then Kavanaugh, he could say, well, I wasn't even in town that weekend. Me and my family had gone for a month to wherever. And so he would really have an opportunity to defend himself. But because she won't pin down the time and at least get it within like a month in a correct year, it makes it very difficult for him to refute it. And, she did add his friend into it, which is kind of weird because, she knows the friend is going to say no, but evidently the friend wrote this book and he said that he was in high school a little bit of a drunk, which is totally sad in and of itself, but let's not get into that. But the friend refutes it, but then, of course, if the friend was a blackout drunk, how can he remember to refute it? Okay, But she doesn't give enough details, and I think that that is specifically done in my mind. I really do think that Diane Feinstein is evil, and I think that there is this play going on. Why did she wait till this point in time to come forward if she's been giving the information since Diane Feinstein has supposedly had the information since July? So we've had July, August, September, even as an anonymous kind of thing. Why, couldn't she anonymously, circulate the information better? I don't know. I have a lot of doubt. But in the end, if she's 100% telling the truth, and she even remembers the correct guy at this point. I mean, if you don't remember the day or the month, you don't remember this, you don't remember that, you don't know whose house it was, you don't know what building it was, you don't know who else was there, you only remember these two people. Did you even correctly remember these two people? And were you drinking? So, your memories are kind of blurry and not quite right. But 100%, even if she is 100% that this happened, and she's 100% honest about it and telling the truth, and her memory is 100% correct of the events. It happened when he was 16, 17, maybe 18. And no one else has come forward saying, if now a string of other women come forward and say, yes, he was, really rude and, he didn't, when I said no, he backed off, but I had to wrestle him, off me or something, or he tried to get me drunk, or I woke up and he was on top of me or something like that. If you have more girls to come forward, or more women to come forward, or even later women to come forward and say, I was a law clerk for him, and he told me I couldn't get promoted unless I, did something or something like that, or, did a Bill Clinton kind of action with some of these girls that have been working with him all these years. And they have 100% clear memories because it was only 5 years ago, not 30 years ago. But nobody else is coming forward. And so, to me, it's not enough to stop him from being a judge. It's not enough for him to be, to be halted and to be voted against, because it was something that happened when he was 17, and he has absolutely no history as far as, he's passed FBI checks, everything else. He has no other history to suggest that there's anything else in his history that this is a common part of his character. And it wasn't a rape. It was an attempted fumbling kind of almost attack. And I'm sure if it happened the way she described it, I'm sure she was terrified. And thank God she got away. And thank God, whatever happened, that she was able to, get up and get away from them. And, shame on them. But evidently maybe he did learn a lesson from it. I'm leaning towards not believing her. I'll be honest with you. And I believe in the Me Too movement to an extent. I think that women do need to be speaking out. We do need to be speaking out and voicing opinions, but it's getting so crazy about, and it takes away from, for example, I believe Rose McGowan. I believe her. I think, and, I also think she's crazy, but I do believe that happened, and I probably contributed to her being as loony as she is. But I think that it happened, and I think that she's telling a truth about it, and I think that it is true, and I believe that, there's more other women that have come forward about Harry Weinstein. I think He is a slime ball, and I think that more people need to come forward and have guts about speaking up when things like this happen, and but it also has to be, like there are women that are telling stories like, there was like one girl that told a story about Dustin Hoffman, that he exposed himself in front of her when she was a child or when she was a teenager, and she was his daughter's friend, and that was absolutely disgusting, and I wish she could get put in prison for it. But there's two other girls that, like the one, he fingered her, and then she went and let him pay her to have sex later. And then she's like, well, I don't even know if that was sexual harassment. No, you willingly went to his house, took money for sex. You're a hooker. It's not assault. And don't put yourself in the Me Too cases, because you are not a person. You are a person who had sex with a famous person for money. That's what you are. Okay? And now, because whatever reason you've never made it, because that was years ago, you're still trying to, get your name out there. And so now you think, well, maybe this will get my name out there, and then maybe I'll get jobs. Well, no, that's not going to work. So, and it distracts from the real true cases. And that's where, there's like one of the people, I think it was Bill O'Reilly, the lady said that he cleared his throat all the time around her desk. He clears his throat all the time. He's on he's on the air, in front of millions of people, not public television, I know that. But when he was on Fox News, he's on the air all the time, and he was always, okay, if he could not do that, he's obviously needs to go to the doctor, or, get something, or, have a little surgery to nip something in his throat or something, because he does have a problem. I mean, it's all the time. You hear him do it all the time. So if he passes her desk and clears his throat, that doesn't make him, a lecher. It makes him a guy with a throat problem. Okay? So that's the problem with these, is that things are going out of hand with the Me Too situation, with anybody and their mama trying to claim that they were a victim with some of the craziest stories. And it negates and takes away from the real true stories, like the young boy that was like, I think 14 years old, and he was molested by Kevin Spacey. I think he was 14, and that, is a true story, and that's something that should never happen, and that's something that somebody should be arrested for. And so those kind of stories should not get lumped in with, he cleared his throat every time he passed my desk. That's not sexual harassment. And so we need to really get a good grip, and we need to just, I don't know how to say it, but we need to not want to be famous so bad that we will do or say anything to get it. And which that does not count for this woman that's accusing Kavanaugh, because of course she doesn't want to be famous. She doesn't want the notoriety. She didn't want to come forward. She wanted to stay anonymous. She wanted to stay anonymous. And so, that doesn't really count for her, but, there are so many more that see that, and then they're like, ooh, I'll do it. And it's getting to be a mess. And I really, really, my heart goes out to the Kavanaugh family, because honestly, there's a part of me that doesn't really believe her. And that part of me, then that's because I feel bad, makes me feel bad for Kavanaugh. I mean, I would not feel bad for Kavanaugh if it was true. And if she can actually give more specific, concrete evidence that it's true, that would be better. But it's so much time. And so then again, because it's so much time and nothing else has ever happened and no other women are coming forward, it's just a smear campaign. And shame on you, Diane Feinstein. I know that you threw away your morals years and years and years ago, but, somebody really, really needs, I don't know, please, please, please get her voted out of office. She's a bad one. Anyways, so that's my thinking on that and on the Me Too movement and everything else. And, you know, I know, and I saw Megyn Kelly, and she said that she thought because she put Kavanaugh's friend in the story, that makes it more believable, because why would you put somebody in the story that's going to refute you? But I don't I don't know. I think that if there was more, and see, this is the thing, if the liberals, I don't think they want more details, because if they get more details, the more details they give, the more she can be hung on her lies. And, you know, that's the problem. Even if, like, some other people go, oh yeah, I went to that party, I remember it, and that party was such and such a date. You know, as soon as there's, like, specific times and dates, then, you know, it gives Kavanaugh an out to say, I wasn't even at that party, I wasn't even in, you know, Maryland at the time, blah, 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 or whatever. And so that's, you know, it's a dangerous situation when, you know, people can just make these accusations and it becomes public knowledge, and, you know, a person's career and their respect and everything is just blown out the window for an accusation that could or could not be true. I don't know. Shame on you, Diane.